Okay, we're recording. All right, everybody. So today I'm going to show you how to do the basic block of this little quilt pattern. It's really a wall hanging, or I use it as a table mat. So in the picture online, you'll see I've got it on a table and I've got this gorgeous hurricane crystal lantern and candle on there. That's how I use mine, but you could hang it if you want to. So today I'm going to talk to you about how we do a shamrock block. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different ways you can bind this piece. And then I'm going to tell you, and we'll start out this way. I've put this into a fully formed pattern. And when I say fully formed, I mean it gives you everything. And I'm going to show you here what you get in the pattern. Let me bring this up. There we go. Here we go. All right. So here is the pattern. You go to my website, heartfeltcreative.com. It's the Lucky Charm pattern. I've found a system now where I can do my patterns much more professionally. So that's your opening page. You get a second page, me, right? This little section about getting started will give you definitions, general idea about seams, and any other information that you might need. Then you get a chart. It's going to give you your fabrics, how much of each one you need. If you have to cut more than one time from a specific fabric, you'll have a cut 1 and a cut 2. So, future ones, you may have a cut 3, who knows? But you'll have this chart to tell you what to cut. And then you're going to go into the piecing sections. And the first section on this is how to piece the snowball and the stem. And then we talk about putting it together. And then we talk about putting the whole thing together. And then online, because this is a digital download, online, if you hit that heart, if you click on it, it's an active link. It'll take you right to my website in case you need that, a quick way to get there in the future. Now, like I said, this is a digital download pattern, but in the future, some of these will be physical patterns that I'll be selling actually in shops. So, but for now, they're digital downloads, which I like. But it's much more put together. It's much more fully curated for you, gives you all your information, gives you those diagrams instead of just pictures of me showing you kind of how you put this to this. You get a full diagram. So you get the visual and you get the written instructions. So I hope you all end up enjoying that. And it's on my website, like I said. It's called Lucky Charm. This pattern, I'm actually going to sell it for $5, and which is actually a great price, because a lot of full patterns like this, I know here in the States, go for something like $9 to $12. But this is $5, and the entire fee, the entire proceeds from this pattern, I am donating to an orphanage in my area. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that story, because I know sometimes you like to know about, what will your funds be going to if I'm donating it, right? So when I was a little girl, like 3 years old, 4 years old, we used to drive past an orphanage in my hometown every day, because it was on the way to my dad's work. So if we were picking him up, back then we picked him up because families had one car and that sort of thing. So we drive past, come back, and I used to ask my parents, can we stop there and bring home a little boy and a little girl? Because they need to have a family, and I wanted a brother and a sister. Every day. My whole life, until I moved away from home to go to college when I was 18, I thought about stopping at that orphanage and adopting a child there. To this day, I would still do it. If Dave and I weren't almost on on Medicare, I would do it. But recently, just a few weeks ago, I was contacted by someone from that orphanage that I know through a completely different scenario, didn't know they were involved with them at all. And they said, would you donate a pattern or something to a scenario that they've got going on to raise funds, because they're going to, get toothbrushes and socks and underwear and some toys and things that they need to put together in kits for all of the children that they care for. And in the orphanage now is not just children, they also help women who have been battered, or women with young children that need to find a place to stay and all that. So they're even more involved in the community that way. And they said, would you like to donate one of your, meaning, could I donate like a quilt and they would auction it? And I said, absolutely, I will do that. And I said, and I will do something else as well. And so what I came up with was the Lucky Charm mat and a quilt, and all the proceeds from this I will be giving to that orphanage as my way to help them as they help these children and their parents, and help them try and find loving homes. So that's where the proceeds go for this pattern if you purchase it. I just thought you should know that, and you should know the story behind it, because for whatever reason, fate has come together, and now I actually get to help them. And when I told them my story, they were like, oh my goodness. So we all felt that it was meant to be. So that's where your $5 will go to help buy those kinds of things for kids. So in advance, from them and from me, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. All righty, so now today, there's no video with this pattern. I know a lot of times I'll do a workshop and I'll have a video and I'll just send out a cut list or whatever. Because this is a fully formed pattern with all the diagrams and everything, there's no video with it. However, I did want to show you how to do the Shamrock Block, because we're almost, in fact, next week on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. And as an Irish girl, I have to celebrate. So I thought maybe you would want to learn how to do this too. Now, you don't have to do it in greens, I guess. You could do them in any color you wanted to, but for St. Patrick's Day, of course, I chose lots of greens, because what's the saying? Ireland has 40 shades of green or something like that. So, so we're going to learn how to do this block today. So if you do purchase the pattern and you are a more visual learner in terms of like videos, even rather than diagrams, you can always come back to the Patches and Pieces video to see how to make this main block if you want to. Okay. All righty. So what you need to do is get yourself out all your green fabrics. I pulled out, I've got more greens because y'all know I've got a lot of fabrics, but I pulled out a lot of them, and I just kind of came together and pulled, I even pulled a couple of solids so that I could have some solids mixed in with all the prints, kind of break up that print a little bit throughout. And I chose 4 of them. So, oh, and you need a white too. And I chose 4 of them. So each one of my shamrocks on here is a different green print, and then there are different prints in the binding and all, or in the borders and all. So we're going to make this block, but before we make the block, I want to talk to you really quickly about binding. You can bind this in a traditional way, and in the pattern on the sheet on the page that tells you, that gives you your chart with all your cut information and fabric requirements, it tells you how much you need to do a traditional binding, okay? But I tried something new. This product's been around for a little while, and I've used it once before, and to be honest, I belong to a subscription box for it now because I kind of love it. But the product is called Chenille It, and I put the link to this on today's Patches and Pieces post in case you wanted to go and look at it for yourself and find out more about it. But the product I use is called Chenille It. It comes in 2 widths, 3/8 of an inch and 5/8 of an inch. For my binding, I used a white 5/8 inch, and they have a lot of colors. I think there was at least 20 colors. There might have been more. And the colors, what I love about them, they even have a red, and they're all color fast. Now, don't think I don't throw in one of those color catchers in the laundry anyway, but they advertise it as being color fast. And all this is, it is a biased tape, not folded. It's not like a binding tape as you would normally think of it, that's, you know, folds together. It's just binding tape. And it's perfectly made when you wash and dry your pieces to look like chenille, you know, the old chenille bedspreads. And I love it. So I'm going to flip the camera because I want to show you. Here we go. So I chenilled my board or my binding on this. And what it does, what I did after I sewed this stuff on here, is I threw it in my washer and dryer for a quick cycle, and it's that way on the back too. And it came out all gorgeously fluffed up like this. I just love it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that there's a project coming for me that uses this product. It's going to be not just on the border though, it's going to be all in the quilt. I'm just telling you now. So fair warning, because I love this stuff. I'm just looking. Okay. So it fluffs it up nice. And I thought it gave it kind of a fun border. And I know like kids will freak out about this stuff because it's so tactile. And I know when my younger brother was tiny, his blanket, he wore the edges off because he loved to feel that satin trim that used to be on baby blankets. So kids are going to love this because it's so tactile. But here's the fun part. Look at this. See that right there? That is my quilt. And I've serged that edge. So this is really cool how you do it. Once you get everything together and your quilting done, you serge around all your sides. Or you can use an overlock stitch on your regular sewing machine. You don't have to have a serger. Then you lay this Chenille It, this faux chenille tape. You measure it off and you lay it down. And I put 2 layers on top and 2 layers on bottom because I wanted, now it doesn't say that you have to, but I did see a video where somebody did. And so I tried it with 2 layers, but you only technically need 1. And then you just take it over and you sew down the center of it. So when it's all sewn on here, it's just flat like that. And then you wash it and it turns into that. It's so fun. But you'll love it. If you go to their website, you'll see quilts that this woman has designed and created with this product. Oh my goodness. They're amazing. They're nothing like the old-fashioned chenille blankets we had when I was a kid. So anyway, so that's how I did this border for my binding. And if you want to do a binding, look at my camera. There we go. If you want to do your binding this way with the chenille, faux chenille, go to that page. Super simple to do. They have a video, the whole 9 yards, but I am going to be doing a project with it because I love it. So that's binding, or you can bind in the traditional way. Completely up to you. So what you need, we're going to get on now to making our little block, our little shamrock block. So easy, guys. If you've done the heart block with me, where I think we also did a pumpkin block where we snowballed the corners. That's kind of what it's not kind of, it's exactly what we're doing to make this little block. Let me flip my camera again. There we go. So we're going to make 3 blocks that look just like that. So you take a 3.5 inch block. It's going to be one of your greens. And then I have to be careful and look here because I've used a white on white fabric. I want to make sure that, because you want to have right sides together. And you place 3 blocks in 3 corners. Now, typically, I would tell you, and I'll tell you now, that you need to make a mark on these white pieces first before you attach them, but I'm just going to clip them on here. You're going to take a pencil, a pen, whatever you like, and a ruler. And you're going to make a mark diagonal from point to point. And then one here and one here. That's going to be your guide to sewing these together, so that when they're done and you flip and press them, they're going to come out looking like that. So this is 3.5 inches, the green block. These white blocks are 1.5 inches. So I'm going to flip over to the sewing camera. I'm going to go over here to the machine. Let me get all of my green fabrics out of my chair. All righty. So here I am. All right, so normally I would tell you, and I think I've told you this in the past. Let me get this up here so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. That you're going to sew directly on that line. And that's how I've always done it myself. But recently, someone said to me, if you, instead of doing it directly on the line, if you come 1 or 2 clicks to the outside. So when I say to the outside, I mean to the part of the block that's going out towards the corner, not in towards the center. If you come 1 to 2 clicks over, and what I mean by that, see if I can get up here on my machine. There, you can see the bed of my, or the board here. All right, so 2.5 stitch length and 3.5 width is the regular setting when I turn my machine on and off. See, off. And that's what it comes up with. So 3.5 for me is dead center on my needle. So if I come over and make it larger, that brings my needle, that brings my needle 2 clicks to the outer edge. So if I come over here and I follow the line, I'm actually stitching 2 clicks this way, and it actually makes turning these little corners easier. And they line up, I found they line up better. I had never heard that, and someone just told me that recently, and I tried it and I like it. So let me, I've got my system set. So I've got my corner right up in there, lowering my foot down. So I am just going to follow along this. If I had a line there, I would just follow along the line, but it's actually stitching just 2 clicks to this side, to the right, I guess you would say. So here we go. So I'm going to do that to all 3 of my little snowball blocks, and I don't have to ever reset my machine. The width, it stays the same. Oops. Snip my threads. That's to snip your threads. There we go. And one more here. And so doing it this way also allows me not have to do that mark anymore, which I kind of liked. It kind of made that go a little bit faster. I didn't have to use a heat erasable pen to get rid of and then iron out my marks or anything. Now, if you don't have a seam conditioner pen like this one, it's the Acorn Precision Piecing Products pen. I've shown it to you before. If you don't have something like that, you're going to want to take your block and just set your seams just like that, okay? However, if you do have a conditioning pen like I am using, I just mark down each seam and then I'm ready to flip and press. So see how nice that comes out when you do it that way? I really like that. All those years I've had to do an extra little clip here or an extra little tuck there on these because when you go right now, if when you sew directly on your line, yours turns out fine, then don't change your needle position. But sometimes fabrics, due to different width of thread or string they're made with, or different, weight of the fabric, if you go right on that line, sometimes it just doesn't flip and fold as nicely. And that's when doing that change can help. So now I'm just going to flip back my corner. I like how that looks. And I'm going to cut with my scissor, just cut off about 1/4 of an inch. I mean, you can be really precise if you want to be on these, but I just flip it back and give it a good look. And I'm sure that's not actually a 1/4 inch. I'm guessing it's a little bit less, but 1/4 inch is just fine. You just want to get that extra bulk out of there. Once I get the bulk out, then I press everything again. Now I'm going to take it over to my table and press it a little bit. Not press it, sorry. I'm going to trim it just a little bit. Let me move my camera down here. There we go. So here I am. I just need to trim it up a wee bit. There we go. Get that little bit off of there. And a tiny bit here I want to take off because I actually flubbed that one. But okay, now. Okay. All right. So there we go. That looks pretty good. So you're going to end up making 3 of these. Now I'm trying to put it together so that you all see it. There we go. Because I think that's technically right side up for you guys. So you'll have 2 like that. And then you'll have a 3rd one just like that. There is your shamrock. But now we need the stem block. Kind of the same idea, just working with a little bit different sizes and a little bit different cut. But there's your shamrock. So we're going to set our 3 shamrock pieces aside. Now you're going to need a 5 by 5.5 by 5.5 inch square of your white or whatever you use for your corner blocks, okay? And I chose to use a solid for my stems. You could use a print if you like to. It's 1 inch wide by about 6 inches, I think, long. So what you want to do with your 5.5 inch square, we are making this really oversized, guys. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We're making it really oversized because then we're going to cut it down. And then it will fit in with these just really precisely. A lot of folks tend to be doing that these days, making their blocks a little bit oversized and cutting them down. I don't typically, if I'm just like making a bunch of like half square triangles, but for something like this that I want really precise placement for, I like this technique a lot. So now I've cut my 5.5 inch block on the diagonal from point to point, and I have 2 triangles. If you do the pattern, the full pattern, I tell you to keep in the pattern, I tell you to keep your 2 pieces from each block together and set them aside. Don't like make a huge pile, because you want to make sure your 2 pieces fit properly. And sometimes, you know, your next block over might be slightly different somehow, tiny bit off in the measurement, and then you're going to end up with problems getting things pieced. So keep your 2 pieces together, or do them one at a time or something. So here we are, we've got our 2 pieces. Now we've got our strip here, our 1 inch by 6 inch strip. Now let me make sure I got my right side facing up on my triangle here. And you would put these right sides together if you were using a print. I'm just going to put it right there, across the top. And I'm going to go and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch along that line. Let me flip the camera again, because we'll finish the rest of this over here at the sewing machine. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take my stitch width back to the normal 3.5 here, so that my needle is in the center. So basically on this, you want to have your machine set up to do your regular 1/4 inch. So I'm going to line up my little piece there. And use a 1/4 inch. Just sew down. When I take my hand away like that, it tends to move, but I want to make sure you all can see this. Okay. So again, either set your seam by pressing, or use your seam conditioning pen. There we go. Now I'm going to take this onto the pressing mat. I'm going to flip this green over and give the whole thing a good press. And you end up with a piece that looks like this. Okay. Now you're going to take your second piece and you're going to lay right side to right side again, just like that. Okay. And now we're going to come over to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch down this way. Okay. Right, again, press your seam to set it, or use your conditioning pen, whatever you prefer. And then I'm going to take it and flip the triangle now over and give that a press. Now this little block I'm showing you right here, I'm calling it the stem block because we're using it for the stem of the shamrock. But you could use this little block for lots of things in your patchwork piecing. This is a good little piece to know. This is like a little block in and of itself. Okay. Alrighty, now we're going to go over and I'm going to flip the camera again. Hello. And there we go. So here we go. That's what we got. Now, obviously, wrong size, right? So I happen to have the perfect little, it's an Omnigrid Omni Grip, sorry, 3.5 inch template ruler. But what you need to do is basically see how you need a template that's going to give you that 45-degree angle. And I just line it up in the center of my stem piece, my green piece. And then, oh, I should have put this on my turning mat, my rotating mat. I forgot. Okay, that's all right. We're going to try to be very careful with this and not move it too much. Line up that corner again. If you have a rotating mat, I highly recommend using them. I always tend to forget after I've made my first cut, unless I like think about it ahead of time. Okay, so there we go. There we have our perfectly sized block now for our stem. So let's lay these together again. Let's see. It goes that way. And this one goes this way. And that actually goes with the green into the corner as the stem itself. So there you go. There's your shamrock block. All you do now is sew these two together, 1/4 inch, these two together, 1/4 inch, and then these two sections together at 1/4 inch. Press and you're done. And that is the basic block for the Lucky Charm quilt. Again, that pattern can be found at heartfeltcreativewithdiana.com. There'll be a link in this post if you're watching on YouTube, and the link is on my Facebook page if you need to find it as well. It's a fully, let me just go back here and show it to you again. It is a fully curated pattern for you. You get your chart for cutting and fabric. You get all of your diagrams and written instructions on how to put it together. And I made the heart on the back cover of this an active link. So if you need to, you can go straight back to my Facebook or to my website. Okay. So that is where you can find the pattern, and all the proceeds for that pattern go to our local orphanage. I'm going to flip the camera again. I'm probably going to have to do it twice. There we go. That is today's block. Let's see. I'm just looking to see if I have any questions over here. No, I don't think so. Okay, let me stop the recording.